Welcome to the Printer's Edge with LaManna, a podcast about how to sell, buy, or build a printing business. Now here are your hosts, LaManna and Ken Okel.
Welcome to the Printer's Edge podcast presented by the LaManna Alliance. Hi, I'm Ken Okel here with LaManna. Let's get right to it. A lot of people look to mergers and acquisitions as a way to sell their printing business, but sometimes there's some fine print or some details they don't know about. You get the calls then when people are upset, nervous, afraid.
Ken, activity is so high right now, it's basically double in the last 12 months. And I anticipate even more because of the consolidation efforts on what's happening. So getting right down to it, my message today basically in merger and acquisition on the sell side is to really investigate the contracts, who you're working with, the experience of that M&A advisor, broker, agent, whatever you want to call them. Be very careful. And today, I'd like to give you a couple tips on what to look out for behind the curtain of M&A.
One of the things you've mentioned that you'll find in a contract with an M&A is exclusivity. What should people know about that?
It's standard in the industry, just like in real estate. Agents, sales agents, M&A agents are looking for exclusivity to get the engagement under contract. So they have the exclusivity to control the process. The problem with that is what you got to be concerned about. Most people don't realize that exclusivity is not a must. It's negotiable. It could be 3 months. It could be a one-time look for 30 days. It could be 6 months. It could be a year. But something is always going to be proposed. And for the people that aren't experienced and don't have the connections, they're always going to ask for a 12-month at least. And then they're also going to talk about, what we'll talk about today is upfront contract service fees. And number two, the big secret is the tail.
So just getting back to the exclusivity real quick. If someone says, we want an exclusive relationship for 12 months, you can always come back and say, let's make that 6 or 4. It's not written in stone.
Of course. It's something, and you have to feel confident with your agent that they have the experience and the knowledge and the connections. That's the key. The connections to keep this deal quiet. Because you want a quiet deal so your employees aren't threatened, your suppliers aren't threatened, your customers aren't concerned, because it's all about your sustainability, your potential of the growth, because you want to keep this rolling. Because right now, if you're not doing extremely well in the last 24 months, you're going to be in dire straits. And if you're in dire straits, you have to be very careful on exclusivity, because there's certain agents out there and organizations and firms that don't get the job done.
I'm sure they talk a good talk. They basically may not have the connections. Basically, you're picking your dance partner and you're deciding how long you're going to be dancing with them. And I think the worst situation is where you realize this dance partner has 2 left feet and they're not getting the job done and I'm stuck with them for months.
Well, my advice basically is get at least 2 to 3 opportunities to talk with the right M&A firm that you have chemistry with, that you trust, that you believe can get the job done, that you can be open and transparent on everything you do, and you can meet your objectives and your timeline. And then before you do all that, this is all during the negotiation point. Don't feel pressured. Make sure you have an experienced, knowledgeable merger and acquisition sell-side attorney to review the situation. For an example, and what would that cost? $500, $1,000 to get a review and some suggestions to protect yourself.
And I could see that's a chunk of change for a lot of people. But if you're stuck with someone who the relationship isn't working out, you're probably going to be losing a lot of money there anyway.
Well, believe me, there's many M&A outfits out there that are charging between $50,000 and $100,000 just for the upfront contract without the success fee and a 3-year commitment, such as 1-year exclusivity and a 2-year tail on a protected list, which in my mind is something that you should never get into.
And let's talk a little bit about that tail, because I could see where in the excitement to sign, and sometimes when you sign with somebody, you're already almost spending the potential money that you're going to get from the deal before anything's happened. Suddenly you realize with that tail, you're connected with that firm for quite some time potentially.
Bottom line here is most of my competition, for an example, that are in the industry are requesting a 12-month exclusivity contract along with a 2 to 3 year tail. What does that mean? That means you're obligated as a seller under contract, under an enforceable contract, that either way, if you sit on it and if they don't achieve your objectives, my concern and my strategy is it takes 62 days to 3 months to handle the sale, process the sale, get the connections, and actually do the due diligence. You should be able to close in 60 to 90 days. A lot of these agents take 6 to 9 months to write up what they call a book, a prospectus book, which I don't believe in because I know enough about the buyer and the seller to put those two together. So my big concern is the seller should be very aware of who they're working with and the results that they've had and learn what's happening in the industry. So be careful who you select. As you mentioned, the dance partner, because you're going to be living with these people for at least 3 years. And in the last 12 months, I've gotten at least 3 contacts that have gotten back to me apologizing that they signed with the wrong agent. They're under contract, and Rock, how do I get out of this deal? And of course, you get an attorney to get out of the protected list or the tail situation, which should have never been signed. Never been signed. It's just that the sell side people, this is their first dance, their first rodeo, and they don't realize that this is pretty standard out in the industry for unexperienced and pressure tactics by M&A advisors.
And I could see a situation where someone is with an M&A group, sale doesn't materialize, the tail is still in effect, you are able to successfully sell your business with someone else, and then you realize, oh, I got to pay a percentage to the M&A firm, which maybe never worked out for you.
It's happening right now in the marketplace, and I'm ashamed to say that there are these type of tactics and legal documents being thrown around. Sellers are signing off on them, and you know what? Shame on you. You need an attorney to look at these before you sign the contract, bottom line.
I want to say that obviously this is legal. It's in the contract, but you need to be aware of it. But as I thought about it, and you were talking about getting that attorney to look things over, I would almost use the analogy, and maybe it's a little out there, but it's almost like going to the doctor for a checkup versus going to the doctor for an autopsy. You know, when you have the doctor look at you is really important.
That's important to share, and it's simple, but at the same time, this is the process. And you're talking about your livelihood, especially the seller. They built something 30, 40 years into the making, and there's a lot of sharks out there. And it starts with the M&A firm, because these guys are out there. I mean, you're basically dealing with Wall Street. And if you're okay with dealing with Wall Street, just like anything else, you need disclaimers, you need licenses, you need a lot of things to be protected. And that's where most privately held businesses, family businesses especially, need a good lawyer and a specialist lawyer to work around your situation. And that should be shared with your accountant. It should be shared with your tax advisor. It should be advised. And here's the other thing that's important. You don't need an agent. You don't need a broker to sell your own business. Be aware of that. You may need advice. You may need an educator to know how to learn the game. But in my world, the best options are trustworthy advisors, trustworthy organizations to make sure that the chemistry, the transparency, and the due diligence are blessed by a buy-side attorney, a sell-side attorney, and the relationship. Because guess what? When you transition a business, it's not overnight. It's something that takes time. You're living together. And usually, most deals, the seller should be around for at least a year to make sure that the transition is good for all people involved.
I'm sure as well, when you're selecting an agent to help you sell your business, industry knowledge and experience is important because someone might have sold a concrete business, not necessarily the same as printing.
Not only that, look at the statistics of M&A. People think M&A, hey, listen, top line, I'm going to buy a $10 million company that's going to make me a $50 million company. Do you know how many $50 million companies out there that are unsuccessful during a integration or M&A transaction? People don't realize that 75% of merger and acquisition activity are failures.
Wow.
Only 25% are successful. And in printing, we all know who they are. And it takes a lot of cash and it takes a team to integrate these cultures to be successful. So it's very, very important to have the sustainability and the legacy aligned. And let's face it, you need cash to grow.
What I'm mentioning with your process, because when you work with clients, do you have a tail?
Only if they want one. Because basically, I work one-on-one with my buy side and my sell side. And I'm a matchmaker. I put people together, and I want them to feel comfortable about the situation. If money up front is a concern, I'll work with them on the back end. Most of my buyers have a lot of cash. So they're always looking for the best deals, and they want exclusive deals, and they want one-on-one opportunities, and I provide that. But I go to my seller, and I've been in the industry for 42 years. So I'm in the second, third generation of these potential sellers. We sit down, we talk about what's important to them in a buyer, the ideal buyer, the chemistry. I've been told, Rock, I don't want to talk to these three people. No problem. I'll find them somebody else, and we put those deals together. So when it comes down to a tail isn't as important to me as the truth, transparency, and the timeline. And the fact that they're committed to make this happen, because that's what I really need, is the commitment on both sides to be honest, transparent, and committed to the process.
For more of Rock's insights, I really suggest that you check out Label and Narrow Web magazine. Rock has a column there, The Bottom Line. Always lots of good information in there. And you've been touching some on the M&A side recently.
Yeah, we sure are. In fact, 2018, we're going to speak a lot about the bottom line, the sell side, the buy side, the tricks of the trade internally, what's behind the curtain, and we're going to give our buyers and sellers a lot of tips of how to work together.
Empowering with information. We always like to talk about Rock on the Road. You're going to be using your suitcase a little bit in the upcoming weeks.
Yep. Let's see here. We have Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, a lot of activity going on there. These are wide format label companies. Flexible packaging is getting to be a very big demand. All of them are big players, international players entering into the marketplace. Besides those visits, we have Spire. I'll be at Spire walking the halls with all the owners with SGIA, wide format, concentration people. And then soon after that, run up to the GOA, where I'll be exhibiting with Ken Okel, my good friend here. My wife will be there for translations since she's bilingual, so I'm excited about that. But we're very excited about the GOA and the PAF and making that all happen. So that's here in the next 30 days. It's very, very busy.
Very much so. If someone would like to reach out to you, Rock, what's the best way for them to connect?
Best way is go on rocklamana.com. ROCKLAMANNA.com. Subscribe to the blog, subscribe to my e-news, call me at 561-543-2323. Go on LNNW, subscribe to that. I mean, there's a LinkedIn, how about that? 5,500 contacts. I mean, there's a lot of activity going on.
We put up a lot of pictures and other fun stuff on there as well. If you want to find out more about me, go to my website. It's like my name. It's kenokel.com, KENOKEL. In my other life, I deliver speaking presentations about how to be more productive at work. So you can find out all that stuff at kenokel.com. As we wrap this up, Rock, as we always say to people,
see you in the marketplace.
This is The Prince's Edge with Rock LaManna. Thanks for listening.